वरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद जय श्रील प्रभुपाद। हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितां तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। Thank you for joining. Subbu Prabhu, welcome after a long time. Hope all well.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. God's grace brought me back. Thank you.
So, can we do a quick recap of what was done last week? Anybody remembers? We did until verse number 16. Who can summarize? Krishna.
Yeah, Prabhuji, we discussed what happened because of which Bhagavatam spoken.
Yeah.
And we are discussing about the entry of Kali. Then we understood that one in Kruta Yoga it was Dhyanam, in Treta Yoga it was Yajna, and in Dwapar Yoga it was Archan. And we realized that in the Kali Yoga the Nama Sankirtana itself is enough for us to get the footsteps of the Krishna.
Yeah.
Then we understood that one, the bull is represented by Dharmaraj, which is Yamaraj, and the cow Dharti Mata his cow is represented by Dhartima. Then the Kali was explaining that one. It is basically, it is the, he was proud to say that one is from the, his footsteps are Pandavas and his people. So he has to protect his kingdom. When he says the Praja of the kingdom, it's not only the people, but even the animals also. Every weekend, animal or person should be protected by the king. And he was saying that one, I will take that duty, and I can go to give any sort of punishment because of whatever the Kali was doing that one. Yeah. And we discussed about the Guna Karma Vibhaga and Chaturvarna Ashrama. Yeah.
So what was the meaning? Who were the personalities behind this whole event? Now Parikshit Maharaj is one of them. Who were the other two, and who were the personalities behind them?
Bull as Dharma and cow as Dharti.
Correct. Survi was the Prithvi Mata.
And last time it was only in all those verses 7, 8. It was the king was asking, why you people, both of you are so looking so pained. You let me know, and he's going to do justice for that. That was all we discussed.
Yeah, and meaning he hadn't, the Dharma hadn't started speaking, if I remember correctly. Right?
Nobody spoke so far.
Now, from now onwards, Dharma will start speaking. And here you also see the Dharma Uvacha written here. So who is Dharma? Personality of is Yamaraj, correct. Yeah. But doesn't it seem contradictory that Dharmaraj, Yamaraj, do you think it is right? And what's right in that?
Basically, Yamaraj knows all the religious principles, what is right, what is wrong. So he's actually, we can treat him as a different of Dharma.
Correct. And why does he need to know that?
Then basically we can also follow. So when we get a Dvida, then we know that and what is the right path to take.
Okay. Yeah, that's correct. He is a Mahajan, right? One of the 12 Mahajans. Right?
Yeah.
So why is a person who kills somebody, takes away the meaning, the life of a person, and leaves somebody's family bereaved, with so much of grief? Why that such a person is being given such a very high position, like Mahajan or something like that?
Because by the will of the God, whatever the karma fal we need to get, so it is being given through him.
Okay. But like when I think I spoke about it, or I don't remember. Please correct me if I'm wrong. If I've spoken, we'll stop it. But when in Hindi movies or movies, basically, when Yamaraj is to be shown, a big, very kind of fearful looking character is displayed. Somebody's face who is very black in color or painted in black color with big mush and horns and some fearful personality. When you look at it and you'll feel कि भाई नहीं करके उसके नजदीक नहीं जाना. So don't you think that such a person is being given the position of Mahajan? Does it not seem to be very contradictory? अगर आपको कोई आके बोलेगा, let's say you take some character displayed as Yamaraj in any movie, and somebody comes and tell you that he's the most knowledgeable person on one of the most knowledgeable person, so will you believe him? No, the probability is very low, right? But that is actually the way these personalities are portrayed by our movies, where the writers don't have any spiritual knowledge, when the producers, directors, the actors, they don't have any spiritual knowledge. So what can be easily fooled to people is actually pushed down their throat, and then gullible people then accept it. There is similar incorrect portrayal of Narad Muni also. Narad Muni is one of the best devotees of the Lord. Okay, and in third chapter, first canto, it is also mentioned that Narad Muni is an avatar of the Lord. Okay? But the way it is portrayed, it is shown as if Narad comes only to create quarrels between people, which is not the case. Narad Muni is the one who preaches bhakti around everybody. Otherwise, imagine people like Prahlad, people like Dhruva, Vyasdev, then I think Vishwamitra, I think, if I'm not wrong. They are all disciples of Narad Muni. Imagine these great people. Will they bow down to a person? Will they accept Narad Muni as a guru, a person who only creates quarrels between people and has no other quality? That will be, very inappropriate to assume that a person like Vyasdev, who wrote 4 Vedas, who wrote 108 Upanishads, who wrote 17 plus 1, 18 Puran, who wrote Mahabharata, the Itihas, such a person has accepted a guru who has no quality other than creating quarrels among people. Such an inappropriate portrayal is there. Narad Muni is the absolutely only personality, not even Krishna, okay, is the only personality who has been mentioned in detail, not just 1 or 2 verses or the reference of a name, but in detail in every canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Is the only personality. So we have to, again, I'm coming to the same point. Whom do we obtain knowledge from is very important, which is the first step based on which the quality of the knowledge will be decided, based on which our complete progress on our spiritual path will be decided by only one right step forward, by asking, am I obtaining this knowledge from the right and the authentic source? If yes, then your spiritual progress is guaranteed. If no, it is doomed. So dharma is Yamaraj. So he has to know the codes of conduct and principles of religion perfectly well, because he is the one responsible for giving punishments to people for the incorrect activities performed. If he doesn't know the code of conduct, he will not be in the position to give any proper justice to anybody. Now that personality of religion, dharma, has come in the form of a bull, and the cow is the Surabhi Mata, and this person who is beating up the bull and the cow is the personality of Kali. And after Parikshit Maharaj has chastised Kali and spoken to Dharmaraj also, now Dharma starts replying. And if you remember, one of the questions Parikshit Maharaj had asked him, tell me who made this stage of yours, meaning condition. Who made this, meaning the bull was standing on just one leg, just one leg. The 3 legs were cut off. And that's why Parikshit Maharaj is asking, who made this for you? Who amputated your 3 legs? And because he knew the Dharma will not answer, that's why he gave more and more justification as to why Dharma should speak who has done this. Okay, and to support his request, he is giving multiple arguments. And some of the arguments is, let's read these translations again. Oh bull, you are offenseless and thoroughly honest. Therefore, I wish all good to you. Please tell me the perpetrator of these mutilations, okay, which blacken the reputation of the sons of Prutha. That means the Pandavas. Okay. So who has done it and why he should tell? Then he is saying, ki whoever causes offenseless living beings to suffer must fear me anywhere and everywhere in the world. Okay, by curbing dishonest miscreants, one automatically benefits the offenseless. So, if I give a punishment, if Parikshit Maharaj gives the punishment to the person who committed offense to bull, then that perpetrator will not be able to cause more offenses to anyone else. So it benefits the offenseless. An upstart living being who commits offenses by torturing those who are offenseless shall be directly uprooted by me, even though he be a denizen of heaven with armor and decorations. So it doesn't matter who that person is, where is he from, how powerful he is, and how reputed he is. If he has caused offense to you, I will give him the punishment which is my promise to you. That is what Parishit Maharaj is telling the bull. Okay. The supreme duty of the ruling king is to give all protection to law abiding persons and to chastise those who stray from the ordinance of the scriptures in ordinary times when there is no emergency. So now he is saying ki it is not because I love to give punishment, but it is my duty. It is my supreme duty. I am the king of this particular place, and I am supposed to protect you, and I am supposed to give punishment to people who cause disturbance to the society, who who divert away from the scriptures. So now the benefit to the society, the law and order situation, as well as the scriptural injunctions, all three perspectives have been spoken by Parikshit Maharaj, which which because of which he expects the Dharmaraj to speak about the person who has caused this to you, to him. Now let's see what Dharma answers now. Very interesting. And that is where we will appreciate the people in our parampara. Amazing. So let's start. Anybody has any questions so far? No? Okay, so let's proceed. Dharma uvacha etadvah pandaveyanam yuktamarta bhayam vachah yesham gunagunai krishno dautyadau bhagavan krutah. Translation and purport.
The personality of religion said, "These words just spoken by you befit a person of the Pandavas dynasty. Captivated by the devotional qualities of the Pandavas, even Lord Krishna, the personality of the Godhead, performed duties as a messenger. The assurances and challenges made by Maharaj Parikshit are never exaggerating of his real power. The Maharaja said that even the denizens of heaven could not escape his stringent government if they were violators of religious principles. He was not falsely proud. For a devotee of the Lord, he's for a devotee of the Lord is equally as powerful as the Lord, or sometimes more powerful by his grace. And any promise made by a devotee, though it may be ordinarily very difficult to fulfill, is properly executed by the grace of the Lord. The Pandavas, by their unalloyed devotional service and full surrender unto the Lord, made it possible for the Lord to become a chariot driver or sometimes their latter messenger. Such duties executed by the Lord for his devotee are always very pleasing to the Lord because the Lord wants to render service to his unalloyed devotee, whose life has no other engagement than to serve the Lord with full love and devotion. Maharaj Parikshit, grandson of Arjun, the celebrated friendly servitor of the Lord, was a pure devotee of the Lord like his grandfather, and therefore the Lord was always with him, even from the time when he was helplessly lying in the womb of his mother when and was attacked by the blazing Brahmastra weapon of Ashwatthama. A devotee is always under the protection of the Lord, and therefore the assurance of protection by Maharaj Parikshit could never be without meaning. The personality of the religion accepted this fact and thus thanked the king for being true to his exalted position. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So now, when it comes to an action, I've spoken about this previously also, there are these two factors that actually decide the action. One is the ability, and the second one is willingness. Now, if we analyze this verse or Parikshit Maharaj's statements and the reply of Dharma, then ability is because he is the son of Arjun or Abhimanyu, and he has the necessary qualities in terms of his warfare ability. There was no doubt that he will be able to give punishment to the person who caused this condition to the bull. So there was no doubt. His ancestry proves that, and there have been incidents before where Parikshit Maharaj has proved his capability also. In terms of willingness, we can analyze this from the perspective of meaning the truthfulness and meaning remaining true to the promise. And then he said that because you are a person from the Pandava dynasty, you have the necessary devotional qualities which Pandavas had. And some of these devotional qualities are satyam, always truthful. Once he gives a vachan, a promise, he will ensure that it is fulfilled. Right now, the bull does not have. Why this is important to understand? We will reach when the bull speaks that particular verse, then you will understand the importance of these statements. Yeah. So the Parikshit Maharaj has expressed that he is capable of delivering justice to him. Bull has also now developed 100% confidence that Parikshit Maharaj can do whatever is required. Okay. And now he is supporting that point to say that even Lord Krishna was captivated by your devotional qualities. That's why he accepted duties as menial as a messenger. Now, Prabhupada has also added a point here that he was a chariot driver also, right? It made it possible for the Lord to become a chariot driver, right? We have spoken about it, but does anyone remember what is the menial nature of the service of a chariot driver? Anybody remembers? Why referring to chariot driver is important here?
Prabhu, it was, I think, told by you that when the person who is doing the fight, he has to instruct the chariot driver by his, you can say, toe or something like that, to take that direction. So, and he has not to speak at that time. He has to only use his toe to just instruct the person to go left or right or whatever it is. So Krishna has tolerated all those things when he was a chariot driver in the Kurukshetra.
Yeah, correct. So what happens is that during in the battlefield, the sound is so much that it is not so simple for the king to speak and the chariot driver to hear it. The sound is so much, the dust is too much, and the fighter, the king, the warrior cannot take off his eyes from the battlefield for even a moment. He has to be very much vigilant. So that makes basic, and his hands are occupied with the bow and arrow. So he cannot use his mouth, he cannot use his hand. The only thing that remains is the leg. That's why the legs are used by the king to indicate to the driver which direction he has to take the chariot. So if the chariot king kicks the chariot driver from the left side, then he knows he has to go to the left. And if he kicks on the right side, then the driver understands he has to go to the right. And this was a prevalent situation and practice. This practice has been going on for a good amount of time. So every chariot driver knows that he will be kicked by the warrior, and every warrior knows that he will have to kick the chariot driver. Despite this, the Lord accepts to become the chariot driver, and despite becoming the chariot driver, the Lord does not fall down from his position. He still remains the supreme Lord. Yeah. And if you remember, there is one name of Krishna as Achyut. Chut meaning somebody who falls down. Achut meaning one who does not fall down. Fall down meaning it's not that we are walking on the street and we fall down. That's not a fall down. Fall down is from the position. So if let's say a policeman, okay, he is supposed to protect the common citizens. Yeah, if he does not perform his duty, if he does not protect, let's say there is a weak person and a strong person fighting with each other, and the strong person and the strong person is beating the weak person. It is the duty of the policeman to go and protect the weak person. But if it doesn't do that, we will say that this person, this policeman did not perform his duties. That means he has fallen down from his position of a policeman. He did not behave like a policeman. Okay, so that is the fall down. So Krishna, despite being the Supreme Lord, agrees to perform the role of a chariot driver, is still the Supreme Lord. He does not fall down from his position. That's why he's called as Achyut, which who will never fall down. So now, what the bull is doing now, that he is saying that because you have such a high quality, a devotional quality towards Krishna, you made Krishna, perform service to you like a messenger or even a chariot driver. So I am completely convinced about your qualities and about your ability to deliver justice to me. That is what he is saying now. Okay. And okay, now let's move on to the next one. Na vayam klesha bijani yatah syuh purusharshabha purusham tam vijanimo vakya bheda vimohitaha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Translation. O greatest among human beings, it is very difficult to ascertain the particular miscreant who has caused our sufferings, because we are bewildered by all the different opinions of theoretical philosophers. Purport. There are many theoretical philosophers in the world who put forward their own theories of cause and effect, especially about the cause of suffering and its effect on different living beings. Generally, there are 6 great philosophers. Kannada, the author of Vaisesika philosophy, and Gautama, the author of logic, Patanjali, the author of mystic yoga, Kapila, the author of Sankhya philosophy, Jaimini, the author of Karma Mimamsa, and Vyasadeva, the author of Vedanta Darshana. Although the bull or the personality of religion and the cow, the personality of the earth, knew perfectly well that the personality of Kali was the direct cause of their sufferings, still as devotees of the Lord, they knew well also that without the sanction of the Lord, no one could inflict trouble upon them. According to the Padma Purana, our present trouble is due to the fructifying of seedling sins. But even those seedling sins also gradually fade away by execution of pure devotional service. Thus, even if the devotees see the mischief mongers, they do not accuse them for the sufferings inflicted. They take it for granted that the mischief monger is made to act by some indirect cause, and therefore they tolerate the sufferings, thinking them to be God-given in small doses, for otherwise the suffering should have been greater. Maharaja Parikshit wanted to get statement of accusation against the direct mischief or monger, but they declined to give it on the above-mentioned grounds. Speculative philosophers, however, do not recognize the sanction of the Lord. They try to find out the cause of sufferings in their own way, as will be described in the following verses. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, such speculators are themselves bewildered, and thus they cannot know that the ultimate cause of all causes is the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Now, although he has not spoken directly, but it will come actually in the subsequent verses. Now, what is he trying to do? Basically, he is not, blaming any single person for his condition. So he knows very well that the personality of the Kali is actually responsible for the situation. But he is still not named, and you will see the reason why. Okay, now we spoke about it, right? That these kind of actions, when they are performed on religion, religion becomes weak. When religion becomes weak, the prominence of irreligion increases. And at a certain point of time, irreligion becomes far greater than religion. And then the decline of religion happens far at a faster pace. And then there is irreligion everywhere. Now, in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, also as a prophecy of Kali Yuga, Shukadev Goswami has already mentioned this, that how irreligion will spread throughout and what will be the symptoms of it. What are the symptoms of Kali Yuga? How will you identify that this is irreligion or this is religion? And in that he mentions this one. Okay, it's a separate topic in itself. I will not go into detail, but all that we are observing now with respect to money, power, women, or food, or something like that, all that has already been prophesized and basically mentioned that this will happen, and which we are practically seeing today. Now, a mention about the sins in the form of seeds, they getting fructified has been mentioned here. So anybody remembers, we have spoken about it previously, but anybody remembers what are the different stages, the way a sin or seed fructifies? No? Rakesh Prabhu?
No, sir.
The sin is in the form of a seed, right? The seed is planted and then that grows into a small plant. Then the plant grows big and it starts getting flowers and fruits. And then these fruits, they become into ripe fruits, right? So these are the 4 stages. And the same thing applies for a sin also. So when we perform an inappropriate activity, a pap, or for that matter, even punya also it is applicable. When we perform pap or punya, we are actually sowing the seed in the soil. Okay, as time passes by, it starts growing into a small plant, and then the plant becomes a big tree. And the tree starts flowering, gives fruits, right? And at a certain point of time, these fruits become ripe. So they are ready to eat. Similarly, when the sins reach to that particular stage of ripening, they are ready to be given to us. And that is when we start experiencing the a particular unfortunate event or even a happy event in our life. तो हम लोग फिर बोलते कि आज क्यों हो गया, why not yesterday or why not day before yesterday, or why not later? That is because every sin that we have committed previously has a different cycle or time of fructification. Some sins come to us absolutely immediately. Some sins take a very long time to come, but they will come. Okay, and if we do not do any kind of bhakti, then these sins will not go away as well. There is one verse in Srimad Brahma Samhita where Brahma says, Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. He says, Karmani, that is karma, the accumulated karma, nirdahati, that is to burn them away, kintu cha bhakti bhajam. If somebody performs devotional service to you in the right manner, you only you have the capability to burn away the sins, accumulated sins of anybody, no one else. This is what Brahma tells Govinda, that is Krishna. Now And that is what Prabhupada is saying. But even those seedling things also gradually fade away by execution of pure devotional service. So now the point here is, we have the tendency to blame others when something, according to us, incorrect happens, right? Some unfortunate happens. Like say, for example, we what do you say? Let's say example of driving that comes to my mind as the first one. If while driving, if we hit the car of some other car, still we will blame the other person, stating that okay, because he did not drive in the proper manner, that's why the accident happened. But let's say something good happens in the office, some project went live successfully or something was delivered successfully. The first thing we do is take our step forward and tell everybody ki, I was the one who did it, right? So we have that tendency. It is because of we do not possess knowledge that we consider it this way. We do not realize that these unfortunate or even fortunate events are the cause of our previous karma, and this was anyway destined to come to us at a certain point of time. But instead we are the ones who want that credit, but we don't want the debit. That's why we do not want to either take the responsibility if it is bad, or you want to take the responsibility or the credit if it is good. And that's what he is saying, that when a person understands it very well, that these things, good or bad, are happening purely by the sanction of the Supreme Lord, then there is no question of blaming anybody. And I've been giving this example sometime, right? Meaning, Prabhupada used to say that if a postman comes to your home, gives you a letter, the letter is actually written by someone else. The postman is just purely delivering that letter to you. So if there is bad news written in the letter, we don't go and hit the postman because of that. What has he done wrong to deliver the bad news? He is just the messenger. So you don't shoot the messenger, right? So that's why that is because one does that, shooting the messenger, only because he lacks knowledge. So a person like Surbhi or Dharmaraj, they are absolutely pure devotees and very well full knowledge. They are fully knowledgeable. So definitely they will not blame anybody. And that's why he is saying, even if the devotees see the mischief mongers, they do not accuse them for sufferings inflicted. So even when the personality of Kali was beating the bull was not blind not to see Kali. He saw him, but still he chose not to name him. Okay, and they say that okay, it's some cause of my own mistake somewhere, sometime before, because of it this is happening to me. But because the Lord is so merciful, actually I deserved much more than this one, but Lord is giving me only this much. So that is the way devotee looks at these reactions of his karma coming to him.
Prabhu,
Prabhu.
what is the relevance of mentioning these 6 philosophers?
Okay, so he has mentioned about various philosophers. So he is saying the different opinions of these theoretical philosophers has caused confusion to me. Okay, so now actually he does not want to name the person. So now he is creating excuses to not name the person. And one of them is saying that the different opinions of these theoretical philosophers has confusion. So Prabhupada, to give us an idea of who these different philosophers are naming these. Kannada, Gautama, Patanjali and all. There is one more, Yajnavalkya also. Okay. So Yajnavalkya learnt all his knowledge from Saraswati Mata. And there was certain thing, I forgot exactly what happened, but there was certain thing that happened between his discussion and Saraswati Mata, and that did not go well. So then Yajnavalkya told Saraswati Mata that I am giving back all the knowledge that I have gathered from you. And he, took water in his mouth, spoke certain mantras, and he spit out that water, indicating that I have given up the knowledge. And then he set out on the path, took up another guru, and he obtained more knowledge from him. So these were the people who then preached their own philosophy across the common people. And that is the reason, meaning it is not that these philosophies are wrong, okay? It's just that they speak the truth from one perspective. It's not necessary that that is a complete truth, but they miss out the points of other truths. That is what their philosophy indicates. And if you remember, in Bhagavad Gita also, this point has come up about different types of philosophies. So even in Bhagavatam also, in the 11th canto, in the Uddhav Gita, how many elements are there in the material creation? Krishna talked to Uddhav about different philosophies counting the material elements differently. And then Krishna says, it is not that these are wrong, but you hear my opinion now. And then he speaks about his opinion about how many elements are there and why he talks about it. So basically, these different philosophies are applicable for different levels of people in the society. So this Karma Mimamsa theory, Krishna spoke to Nanda Maharaj in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 10th canto. So Prabhupada mentions over there that it is not that it is wrong, but the point is the way the other person is and the way he will understand is how you need to explain to him. And gradually you need to bring him on the right path. So that's why these different philosophies help different sections of people who have different levels of knowledge. Okay, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Text 19. Kechid vikalpa vasana ahurat manamatmanah daiva manye pare karma swabhavam apare prabhum. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Who's reading? Who's reading?
I'll
Shall I
do
go,
that.
Prabhuji?
Please, yeah.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Translation. Some of the philosophers who deny all sorts of duality declare that one's own self is responsible for his personal happiness and distress. Others say that superhuman powers are responsible, while yet others say that activity is responsible, and the gross materialist maintain that nature is the ultimate cause. Perfect. As referred to above, philosophers like Jaimini and his followers established that fruitive activity is the root cause of all distress and happiness, and that even if there is superior authority, some superhuman powerful god or gods, he or they are also under the influence of fruitive activity because their reward result according to one's action. They say that action is not independent because action is performed by some performer. Therefore, the performer himself is the cause of his own happiness and or distress. In the Bhagavad Gita 6.5, also it is confirmed that by one's mind freed from all material affection, one can deliver himself from the sufferings of material pangs. So, one should not entangle oneself in matter by the minds of material affections. Thus, one's own mind is one's friend or enemy in one's material happiness or distress. Atheistic and materialistic Sankhyats conclude that material nature is the cause of all causes. According to them, combinations of material elements are the causes of material happiness and distress, and disintegration of matter is the cause of freedom from all material pangs. Gautama and Kannada find that atomic combination is the cause of everything, and impersonalists like Ashtavakra discover that the spiritual effulgence of Brahman is the cause of all causes. But in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord himself declares that is the source of impersonal Brahman, and therefore he, the personality of Godhead, is the ultimate cause of all causes. It is also confirmed in the Brahma Samhita that Lord Krishna is the ultimate cause of all causes. Jai
Jai,
Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, thank you. So, now the point that is being mentioned here is uh, depending on how you look at a particular event or a scenario, based on that you will decide who is the cause. Okay, now why this is important? Because uh, the bull Dharma is going to refuse to name the person. Okay, so that's why he is creating a background for his position. And that background he is mentioning that because of these different philosophers, I am confused, and that's why I'm not able to find out who the person is, who is the actual cause. It is not that he doesn't know that Kali has actually Kali is the perpetrator, but then he is going beyond what is visible to the eye. Why is Kali doing this? Because he is influenced by something or somebody. That's why he is doing it. Who the influencer is. So now there is a thought is either it is my karma, that is the fruitive activity is the root cause. So that means Dharma is thinking either my karma is the root cause, or he is thinking that some superior authority, some superhuman powerful god or gods, right? That is one. Then he is saying material nature is the cause of all causes. And then there is atomic combination is the cause. So which one actually is, I do not know. If a postman comes to me and delivers a letter which does not have the sender's name and address, how will I find out? Then what will I do? I will only speculate. Okay, the content is about so and so topic, and this topic was related with my discussion with person A or B or C or D. So then there is a chance that either A, B, C, D, either of A, B, C, and D would be the sender. Yeah, but if somebody asks me, tell me exactly who, then I will not be able to tell. And that is what the bull is saying. That if I apply the philosophy of all of these people, I do not know who has done it. So how can I tell you? So then that means what? He is not refusing to tell the name of the person, but he is expressing his inability to tell the name of the correct person. Although actually he knows, because he is a Mahajan. He possesses knowledge, complete knowledge. So it is not that he cannot find out, but he does not want to tell it. And that is what we will see in the subsequent verses now. So now, being the cause of all causes, okay, I'll give you an example. Now, this is one common example, but actually suits the purpose. I've been speaking about this for some time now. So this just explains it. So please forgive me if I'm repeating this one. So when same a student, a school-going student, approaches a doctor and asks him as to, when I eat the food, what happens? So the doctor will say, okay, the food goes into your stomach, and it goes into your intestines, and then digestion happens, and then you get energy. If a grade 12 college going student approaches the doctor, then they will probably speak in a little more short intestine, energy, protein, digestion process, excreta, and all that. If a medical student, let's say last year medical student approaches a doctor, then they will talk at even greater detail. But two doctors equally experienced, when they have to talk with each other, they will speak at a much higher level detail, right? Can we say that one of them is wrong? No, we cannot. All four explanations given by this senior doctor is correct, but it's that ability of the person who is hearing to grasp the and understand the knowledge, that ability actually is considered by the senior doctor, based on which he says, decides how much detail to speak about. Now, the same thing here. Atomic combination is the cause of everything. Yes, definitely. Atoms are the kind of one of the lowest elements. When they come together, certain things happen, material activities happen, and all that. So they are also a cause. So it's not wrong. But if one goes into more detail, why are the atoms behaving in this manner? Then we will come to the material elements, integration, disintegration. Then we will come to the level of the details such as the reactions that happen between these material elements. Right? When we go into further level detail, we will understand that our karma is responsible. It is, had we not performed an incorrect karma, these material things would have continued their actions and reactions, but it would not have come to me. And when we bind all of this together and we go to even higher level, then we will see that there is the Lord who is sitting at the top of everything, because of which Brahma calls him as the cause of all causes. And that Lord is making everybody do what they are doing as a role. Huh? So where does the Lord say in Bhagavad Gita? Sushil Prabhu and Rakesh Prabhu, we learned this word just few days back. The Lord controls the material nature. Anybody remembers?
It says the material nature works under his direction, and it's one of its superior.
Under Maya Shakti.
And I am, though I instruct the material nature, I am unaffected by this.
Yes. So Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Characharam, right? Adhyakshena, because of my superintendence, yeah, the material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti. Yeah? Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Why this is important to know? That is because if he doesn't control the material nature, then the creation will not happen. If he doesn't control the material nature, the law of karma will not become applicable. If he doesn't control the material nature, the fruits will not come to us. So finally, if you see, the cause of all causes is the Supreme Lord. So people who think that Brahman is the cause of all causes, they probably have not read this verse, the 27th verse of 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, Brahmano hi pratisthaham amrutasya vyayasya cha. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, the foundation, pratisthaham. The Brahman exists only because of the Lord. I am the basis, which is immortal, imperishable, and all that. So now, in Brahma Samhita also, Brahma says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigra Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Sarva Karana Karanam. The cause of all causes. The ultimate cause. That cause beyond which there is no other cause. So that is what now the bull is leading to now. Now let's go forward also. Pratarkya dar pratarkyad anirdeshyad iti keshvapi nishchayah atra nurupam rajarshe vimrusha swamanishaya. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
There are also some thinkers who believe that no one can ascertain the cause of distress by argumentation, nor know it by imagination, nor express it by words. O sage amongst kings, judge for yourself by thinking over all this with your own intelligence. purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. The Vaishnavites, the Vaishnavites, the devotees of the Lord, do believe, as above explained, that nothing can take place without the sanctions of the Supreme Lord. He is the Supreme Director. For he confirms in the Bhagavad Gita 15.15 that he, as all pervading Paramatma, stays in everyone's heart and keeps vigilance over all actions and witnesses all activities. The argument of the atheist that one cannot be punished for one's misdeeds unless proved before a qualified justice is refuted herein. For we accept the perpetual witness and constant companion of the living being. A living being may forget all that he might have done in his past or present life, but one must know that in the same tree of the material body, the individual soul and the supreme soul are the soul and the supreme soul are Paramatma, are sitting like two birds. One of them, the living being, is enjoying the fruits of the tree, whereas the supreme being is there to witness the activities. Therefore, the Paramatma feature, the supreme soul, is actually the witness of all activities of the living being. And only by his direction can the living being remember or forget what he might have done in the past. He is therefore both the all-pervading impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma in everyone's heart. He is the knower of all past, present, and future, and nothing can be concealed from him. The devotees know this truth, and therefore they discharge their duties sincerely, without being overly anxious for rewards. Besides that, one cannot estimate the Lord's reaction, either by speculation or by scholarship. Why does he put some into difficulty and not others? He is the supreme knower of the Vedic knowledge, and thus he is the factual Vedantist. At the same time, he is the compiler of the Vedanta. No one is independent of him, and everyone is engaged in his service in different ways. In the conditioned state, such services are rendered by the living being under a force of the material nature, whereas in the liberated state, the living being is helped by the spiritual nature in the voluntary loving service of the Lord. There is no incongruity or inebriety in his actions. All are on the path of absolute truth. Bhishma Dev correctly estimated the inconceivable action of the Lord. The conclusion is therefore that the sufferings of the representative of religion and the representative of the earth, as present before Maharaj Parikshit, were planned to prove that Maharaj Parikshit was the ideal executive head because he knew well how to give protection to the cows, the earth, the Brahmanas, religious principles, the two pillars of spiritual advancement. Therefore, in that, everyone is under the full control of the Lord. He is quite correct in his action when he desires something to be done by someone, irrespective of the consideration of the particular case. Maharaj Parikshit was thus put to test for his greatness. Now let us see how he solves it by his sageous mind. Jai
Hare
Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So you see, the beauty of the purports written by Prabhupada are such that, if you read one verse, the purport of just one verse, you will get the complete philosophy from just one verse itself. Now, in this particular purport, Prabhupada has packed the conclusion of so many different verses of Bhagavad Gita. So here he is talking about 15.15, Supreme Director, all pervading Paramatma, stays in everyone's heart, keeps vigilance. Yeah. So there he talks about that. Then the atheist's judgment. Okay, that one's misdeeds cannot be, I mean, you cannot be punished if they cannot be proven. So that action is, or that thought process is also wrong, because it um, rejects the existence of Paramatma in the heart of everybody. So that also is meaning refuted here. Now he talks about the supreme soul, the individual soul and the supreme soul, the Atma and Paramatma sitting like two birds. Okay. So this also has been spoken in the second chapter, in the third chapter, and in the 13th chapter, there are these 4 verses. Okay. Uh, Everybody should learn these by heart and understand it properly. These 4 verses, 20, 21, 22, and 23. If you are able to understand these 4 verses properly and the philosophy behind them, then you have understood Bhagavad Gita completely. These 4 verses are absolute amazing. Okay. There Prabhupada, there Bhagwan talks about it, Yet in this body, there is another transcendental enjoyer who is the Lord, who is the supreme proprietor, and who exists as the overseer and the permitter, Upadrashta and Anumanta. Upadrashta Anumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara, who is known as the super soul, the Paramatma. And that's what Prabhupada is writing over here also. So the Supreme Being is there as a witness to each and every action, each and every thought, each and every desire, and then he continuously fulfills it. So if you have a bad desire, he takes it as his own responsibility to fulfill it. If you have a good desire, he will fulfill it again. But if you have a desire to bhakti, he will fulfill that also. So when we eat the fruit, okay, or when we perform the action, we eat the fruit also. So that's why it is because it is a fruit, and because it comes to eating that fruit, that's why the example is given of a bird. So the bird sits on a tree and it eats the fruits continuously. And if it is good, he enjoys. If it is bad, he is punished. So that way, that chakra goes on. And there is another friend who is seated as another bird on the same tree, just observing the first bird. So that's why these 2 birds example is given here. Now, being the Paramatma, he knows every of our thoughts, actions, and our desires. Yeah? He knows the past, present, and future. And that's why it says that we cannot hide anything from our Paramatma. And because based on that, the results come to us. And because this Paramatma is there, we will never get even lost as well in the material world. ऐसा नहीं होगा कि लाइक व्हेन वी आर प्लेइंग मार्बल्स, अपना 10 मार्बल होता है तो बाद में बाय द टाइम वी कम अप होम वी रियलाइज वी हैव लॉस्ट 2-3 मार्बल्स, कहाँ गुम हो गया वी डोंट नो. बट ऐसा नहीं होगा कि बिलियंस एंड ट्रिलियंस ऑफ आत्मास आर जीवास आर देयर, लिविंग एंटिटीज आर देयर, and Bhagwan is counting, oh, how many have come back home now? Okay, fine. Okay, now there is a, around 1 million atmas are missing. कहाँ पे है पता नहीं मुझे. That kind of stuff happens only with people like us, not with the Lord. So every atma is accompanied by a Paramatma. So then this question of losing somebody doesn't arise at all then. Now, the point is, after having spoken in this manner, this now comes to Parikshit Maharaj. Now he has to give justice. He has seen with his own eyes who is the culprit, but he doesn't want to take the decision by himself. That's why he wants the bull to tell him who is the culprit, and the bull is not ready to tell the culprit. So abhi kya kare? So that is why it's a bit difficult for him to give justice. Okay. So now Prabhupada is saying that it is a test of Maharaj Parikshit कि भाई पूरा सत्य सामने है. He knows the truth. He has the ability to give justice, but because there is no witness, he is going to find it difficult. So let's see what he does. So Suta Uvacha. So now the bull has stopped speaking now. So now Sutta Goswami is filling the gap between two conversations now. Sutta Uvacha Evam Dharme Pravadati Sa Samrat Dvija Sattamaha Samahitena Manasa Vikhedah Paryatashtatam.
Truth Goswami said, O best among the Brahmanas, the Emperor Parikshit, thus hearing the personality of the religion speak, was fully satisfied and without mistake as regard he gave his reply. The statement of the bull, the personality of the religion, was full of philosophy and knowledge, and the king was satisfied, since he could understand that the suffering bull was not an ordinary one. Unless one is perfectly conversant with the law of the Supreme Lord, one cannot speak such things touching philosophical truths. The emperor, being also an equal level of sagacity, replied to the point without doubts or mistakes. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so now the position of Maharaj Parikshit is being explained by Sutta Goswami, and and now we will see how Parikshit Maharaj actually gives his thoughts and then delivers justice. We will see that now. So Rajovacha Dharmam Bravishi Dharmajna Dharmosi Vrusharupadhruk Yada Dharma Kutah Sthanam Suchakasyapi Tadbhave. Now he identifies the personality of religion. Okay. So let's read the translation and purport. Translation and purport by Shlopad. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Who's reading?
The king
I'll
said,
read.
okay.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
The king said, O you who are in the form of a bull, you know the truth of religion, and you are speaking according to the principle that destination intended for the perpetrators of irreligious acts is also intended for one who identifies the perpetrator. You are no other than the personality of religion. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. A devotee's conclusion is that no one is directly responsible for being benefactor or mischief monger without the sanctions of the Lord. Therefore, he does not consider anyone to be directly responsible for such actions. But in both the cases, he takes it for granted that either benefit or loss is God sent, and thus it is his grace. In case of benefit, no one will deny that it is God sent. But in case of loss or reverses, one becomes doubtful about how the Lord could be so unkind to his devotees as to put him in great difficulty. Jesus Christ was seemingly put into such a great difficulty, being crucified by the ignorant, but he was never angry at the mischief mongers. That is the way of accepting a thing, either favorable or unfavorable. Thus, for a devotee, the identifier is equally a sinner. Like the mischief monger. By God's grace, the devotee tolerates all reverses. Maharaj Parikshit observed this, and therefore he could understand that the bull was no other than the personality of religion himself. In other words, a devotee has no suffering at all because so-called suffering is also God's grace for a devotee who sees God in everything. The cow and bull never placed any complaint before the king for being tortured by the personality of Kali. Although everyone lodges such complaints before the state authorities, the extraordinary behavior of the bull made the king conclude that the bull was certainly the personality of religion, for no one else could understand the finer intricacies of codes of religion. Jai
Right.
Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. We saw now why the bull was not mentioning the name of the Kali, or for that matter, whoever would have caused him. And this is so important, Why do you think it's not right to name the perpetrator? Very important to understand.
Because I think that it is again it is not him who did it. It is something which made him do it.
Correct. So what happens if you identify them?
Then you also actually are doing something wrong, right?
Correct. How is it wrong? I mean, how is it wrong? Fine, it is one aspect, yeah, that yes, he is the messenger. But for my eyes, he has done it, right? So when somebody asks me who did it, it is not wrong to say he did it. But despite that, the Dharmaraj did not mention. So what's that main principle behind it?
I think that leaving it to the Lord to actually to give justice to anything what happens, right?
So it can also be perceived that
you don't have to be the cause of doing or telling or judging or passing judgment on anybody.
correct. But it can also be perceived, right? It is the Lord in the form of the person who is asking you the question. In that, via that person, the Lord is making you speak. The Lord wants you to speak. It can be perceived that way also, right?
Yeah.
Then what is wrong in it? Anybody? These are fundamentals of the philosophy of karma. Sushil Prabhu, Rakesh Prabhu.
Or the Lord wants you to go through that experience and then you understand something like that?
Correct, possible. That is the reason the Lord has made you a party to the whole incident, and you are the party in receipt of the punishment, so you are getting it. Fine. But at a certain point of time, we can imagine that the person who is asking this question has been sent by God, just the way the punishment has been sent by God. This person is also asking, like Parikshit Maharaj can also be considered as God sent, and the God is expecting you to answer. So what is the problem then? Fundamentals of karma, the cycle of karma. This is the hint. How do you break the cycle of karma?
By not doing anything good or bad.
Correct. But already that action has happened to you.
So it has happened to me means somebody has done it on me, right? I am not the doer, or I am not the I am only a receiver, no?
Correct. Correct. So we can look at it in this way. Let's say, in my previous life.
See, if you do good also, you told that you will be, if you, one thing which I remember from what you people were telling some time back is, if you have good things also, you will come back, or if you have bad things also, you will come back. So
correct.
How do you have to make this null, right?
Correct. That is akarma bhakti.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. But that is when you are looking at it at a macro level. Let's take sorry.
Is it because even if you have to go through something bad, it's probably it's eradicating one of the sin that you had committed, so that at least you can be free from the cycle of karma going forward?
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. But let's look at this from this perspective. Let's say in my previous life, I killed one person. Now in this particular life, he has the opportunity to kill me. Okay. So what happened? Let's assume for the sake of it, that person in my previous life, he did not do anything wrong. It was me who did the first wrong to him. because of which he was killed. Okay, just for the sake of discussion, there will be counter arguments to this one. But I did the first mistake, and because of it, now he got the opportunity in this life to kill me. Okay, now let's say he has stabbed me, and now there is a policeman asking me, who named him? This person did it. Then I said, oh yes, this person killed me. So what is going to happen now? He is going to face a jail punishment or whatever, right? But what made him face the punishment? Because I named him. And why did I name him? Because he killed me. And why did he kill me? Because I killed him in the previous life. So now in the third life, okay, there will be an opportunity given to him to take some revenge on me. Which means in the fourth life, I will take some revenge on him. Which means this cycle will never stop. The only way we can make it stop is to forgive him 100% from the bottom of our heart. And then the Lord says, fine, you have forgiven him, and that's all. There is nothing further to be given back to him. So now in this context, if you apply what the bull is doing is, I consider, that's why Prabhupada also mentioned, devotees consider whatever incorrect that happens in their life, incorrect or basically unfortunate that happens in their life, they consider that to be the mercy of Krishna. They think that they actually deserve a bigger punishment, but because Krishna is merciful, they have got only this one. And if something good happens, they consider that they're not eligible for this, but the Lord is merciful. The Lord has given much more than what they deserve. So because of such attitude, you never consider yourself to be more than or less than eligible. And then you consider that anything and everything, because it is controlled by the Lord, even the unfortunate actions by certain people caused to me are also the will of the Lord. So when it is the will of the Lord, who am I to complain about it? Complain about the person who has delivered this will of the Lord to me? Why should I complain about him? And then when you complain and certain pain is caused to that person, then you can imagine that and relate to that example of postman. That because there was a bad news written in the letter, we have caused some pain to the postman, which is not required. And if we accept anything and everything happening in our life in this manner, imagine the cycle of karma getting terminated so fast. And we will also feel so happy. Our path towards the Lord will also become so simple. And that is the reason why naming the perpetrator was not done by the bull here. And the example of Jesus Christ is so perfectly mentioned here that, so many people, they caused physical disturbance to Jesus Christ at that time. But despite that, during his last moments, he prayed to the Lord that forgive them. They don't know what they are doing. So, and it's very simple to say, but not so simple to practice. But this is what actually everybody should imbibe that in our life. I know it is simple to say because forget me, so many senior devotees also, make mistakes of blaming the person. But this is the right way of, approaching or accepting some unfortunate event that happens in our life. Hare Krishna. Any comment? Any question?
So this is not an argument or not. One thought is, if nobody tells anybody that they are doing the wrong thing, then how does the correction happen to that person?
You are right. But there the same logic applies, right? The Paramatma is situated in the heart, right? So many times, let's say, people are sent to jail. The jail in itself we understand as a corrective punishment, right? Why are people sent to jail? Because they, after being confined to the cells of the prison, they will somehow realize within themselves that they have done something wrong, and they will not repeat this mistake, right? That is the expectation. But so many times we see people being sent to jail 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, but after coming back, they perform the same mistake again. So to say that a person suffering the punishment will display a correction in the behavior, that argument also doesn't hold true. Correct? Just yesterday, I think, read on Twitter somewhere that one person who caused some molestation of some minor girl was sent to a jail, and there he displayed very good conduct, and because of that the jailer was happy and the jailer reduced his jail term. But when he came out, he did the repeated the same mistake on some other girl. Now it is obvious that this jail term does not generate a correction in the behavior.
I was not talking of that. Again, see, the punishment I am not talking of. I'm telling that somebody has to tell somebody that this is right and wrong.
Correct.
That is when you, for the question which you asked, right? Like somebody asks, who's done it?
Correct.
Then how will that realize that this was wrong?
Agreed. A very valid point. But then what we are thinking in this particular scenario is our naming of the person can bring about correction, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then we are actually ignoring the role of Paramatma and Krishna and Guru over here. Even in ISKCON also, the general etiquette, a Vaishnava etiquette that we follow is, if I see somebody doing something wrong, and according to my observation, if it is wrong, it is not right for me to go and tell that person directly, Baba, this is wrong. The general etiquette that we are supposed to follow is we speak to some senior devotee who will have good relationships and who is a senior to that other person also. And then that senior person or a guru will be in the right position to give the necessary advice to the other person. So it is not that we leave that person who may not even know that he is performing a mistake. So it is not that we will leave him without any correction or without any advice. But when we think, if there is a chance that we might think from one perspective, okay, but it's not necessary our perspective is correct. But when you talk to a person who is more neutral, there is a good chance of understanding his behavior, his actions from a far closer to neutral perspective, and then he will be
But
in a
again,
better.
see, one thing which sorry to interrupt. The only thing which is running through my mind is, see, if we tell anything which is happening is due to the Lord, that is what we believe. Yes, anything which happens to anybody or anything that is being done by anybody is controlled by our Supreme Lord, right? So in that scenario, then basically whatever good or bad is happening completely with the consent or with the direction of the Lord.
Correct.
So it is simple to just start accepting everything. Everybody should accept that somebody is doing a mistake that is because of some whatever, this janma or purva janmas or whatever
and all that. Yeah.
gunas. Yeah. So basically every personality is going to be like that, and that is the nature. Right. But otherwise, but what we tend to do is, again, we try to put boundaries, we tell this is good, this is bad, and then try to seclude people, put in caste systems and all those. We do a lot. That means we are doing all these mistakes, right?
Correct. You're right. You're absolutely right. So the implementation of caste system may have its own defects, but that is nothing to do with the design of the caste system, right? So that could be one way of punishment. But what I'm trying to draw you to a point that, the incident mentioned here in Bhagavatam is a bit different from the scenario that you have mentioned. The incident here was Parikshit Maharaj is ready with the sword to punish the person who has caused this to the bull and the cow. So that's why he is saying ki, okay, Rao Prabhuji, sure. So that's why he is not ready to name the person, because he knows very well what would be the result of the naming of the person.
That is where I was thinking. In this context, the reason why he did not, the bull did not give an answer is because that will cause Parikshit Maharaj to again create a sin, right?
Not a sin,
That
because
the
he is a king, right? So
because he'll kill, no?
no, he is a king. He is going to
He's a
deliver.
king, but yeah, he's a king, but he is going to kill Kali, which in some form will cause him some negative thing, right?
No. So he mentioned, right, in this, as per the scriptures, it is perfectly fine for a king to kill somebody in order to deliver justice to the offenseless people.
Okay.
So killing may be wrong, but killing to protect dharma is not wrong. And
It's
that's
okay.
precisely the
Dharma, that is, that is like
yeah.
the Gita's thing.
Yes, exactly. Now, it is not in the interest of Parikshit Maharaj that the bull did not say, but it is in the interest of the perpetrator that the bull did not tell his name.
Okay.
And now, if you apply that in the scenario that you mentioned, if the expectation is to correct the behavior of somebody, then that correction, if it is not going to cause punishment, then probably it would have a different course of action or course of going about it. But here it was evident that the person who caused this to the bull may have lost his life as a punishment given by Parikshit Maharaj. So to protect him and to ensure that this does not spiral into another chain of karmic reactions, this was stopped by the bull here itself.
Thank you. Sorry for interrupting.
No worries. Thank you. So this is the last verse for today. Let's quickly go through it. Athava deva mayaya nunam gatir gochara chetaso vachaschapi bhutanamiti nischayah.
Thus, it is concluded that the Lord's energies are inconceivable. No one can estimate them by mental speculation or by word jugglery. A question may be raised as to why a devotee should refrain from identifying an actor, although he knows definitely that the Lord is the ultimate doer of everything. Knowing the ultimate doer, one should not pose himself as ignorant of the actual performer. To answer this doubt, the reply is that the Lord is also not directly responsible for everything is done by his deputed Maya Shakti or material energy. The material energy is always provoking doubts about the supreme authority of the Lord. The personality of the religion knew perfectly well that nothing can take place without the sanction of the Supreme Lord, and still he was put into the doubts by the deluding energy, and thus he refrained from mentioning the Supreme Cause. This doubtfulness was due to the contamination of both Kali and the material energy. The whole atmosphere of the age of Kali is magnified by the deluding energy, and the proportion of measurement is inexplicable.
Right. So to name a person to cause a punishment is also wrong. To not name, especially the Supreme Lord, is also the product of Maya. So it at any and every point of time, uh, to think that a certain event has caused by something other than Lord is ignorance. So beautiful it is. To consider the Lord as the cause of each and every cause is knowledge. Amazing, just amazing. And I personally like this statement. The material energy is always provoking doubts about the supreme authority of the Lord. So every time we get a question, why did the Lord do this to us? Okay, we should immediately remember this statement, that it is the Maya who has created this doubt in my mind about the personality of the Lord. The Lord is all perfect. The Lord's knowledge is perfect. The Lord's planning and the execution of the planning is perfect. What the Lord gives me or doesn't give me is perfect. The timing of when the Lord gives me and the quantity in which He gives me is perfect. It is only me who is that unfortunate and ignorant person who is unable to understand it. That is why I question the Lord. Amazing, just amazing. So that is why it is very important to learn this knowledge from Parampara. Prabhupada, if one reads Bhagavatam and the purports, there is absolutely not a single doubt that will remain in your mind about everything spiritual. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much. We'll meet next week. Any question, or we can wrap up?
No, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Sorry for being late here.
For
Hare
no
Krishna.
Hare
problem.
Krishna.
Thank you for joining. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.